Good morning, everyone. Great to see everybody here. This morning we have the press panel. I'm Vivian Gleeson. I'm a PR consultant, and I am on the mentoring panel for the Boston Heron free mentoring support that's provided here. And that's supported by Taste for Set Skillnet Ireland, which we're delighted about. So I'm here with these lovely people beside me. I'm going to introduce you one by one. Jen Stevens beside me, group editor of the Content Studio in the Irish Times Group, and looks after all the commercial content in the Irish Times, the Examiner, the Echo, Breaking News, and other parts of the group. She's been the features editor of the Sunday Times Ireland and a magazine editor for about 20 years, about that. Yeah. And we're going to talk a bit about that in the Content Studio. Beside me here, Janine Kennedy. Janine is a food and agricultural journalist. She has previously held the roles of acting editor, acting food editor, and acting features editor for the Irish Country Living Irish Farmers Journal. She is a 3-time Irish Food Writer Writing Awards winner and was acting features editor when Irish Country Living won Newspaper Magazine of the Year of the Irish News Brands Awards in 2021. Originally from Nova Scotia, Canada, Janine moved to Ireland in 2013, where she resides on her family farm with her husband and her 3 daughters in Tipperary.
Yeah.
Whoop, whoop. Up tip, sorry, up tip.
Casual blue one, big last name.
Yeah. Nice. Beside Janine, we have Mark Morgan. Mark Morgan is an account manager on the commercial side of ShelfLife magazine, Ireland's leading trade title for fast-moving consumer goods and grocery sectors. Mark works with brands to build partnerships across print, digital and events, helping ensure their messages reach retailers, buyers and key decision makers. And then finally, we have Ali Dunworth. Ali is a freelance food and drinks writer and festival and events curator and host. And Ali also has rounds up food news and events every Friday through her Substack newsletter, The Kitchen Shelf. And if you're not signed up for that, please, I would highly recommend it. It's all the food news that's happening, summed up in one nice snap size. You're also an author of The Irish Pints. What's the name of the book? The Irish
Compendium of Irish Pints.
Irish Pints. Great book about a great pint of Guinness. Okay, so let's get started. I think I'm going to start with you, Jen.
Great.
So from a national perspective and the wide roles that you hold, I suppose, will you tell us a little bit about the Content Studio and get a sense for the audience here today on a national level, what you look for, what's a compelling story, what kind of information you're looking for. But first, tell us about the Content Studio.
So I've been a features and lifestyle journalist for a very long time, and last year moved into the Content Studio in the Irish Times, which is where we help brands and businesses tell their story. So it's a difference between earned media and paid media, essentially. And in Content Studio, it allows you to tell the story that you want to tell, how you want to tell it, and get it in front of an Irish Times audience. So the difference, I suppose, is instead of pitching and trying to get an editor to cover your brand, you come with what you want covered, and then there's a fee attached to it. But it's all written and commissioned by Irish Times editors and journalists. So it's the same quality that you would get, but you tell it how you want it to be told. So
And it says it's a editorial.
It says it's sponsored. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, there's no.
Yeah, and just on that, if a producer doesn't have a budget, how can you work around
I
that?
think
Or what else do you do?
I think something like paid media like that, people think that it's very big budgets and a lot of money involved, but there's different products for everybody, and there are different teams. There are certainly teams that work with agencies and huge big retailers all the time, and obviously the prices involved in that is huge, but there's a small national team that works directly with brands, and those prices are really, achievable. And then it depends on what you want. We do everything in Content Studio from huge big products that involve video and audio and, series of articles, but that you can just do a one-off article that will get in front of a minimum of 10,000 Irish Times readers. And so, that's not a huge undertaking at all. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And I suppose on that, what has worked? What do you find works then?
Actually, the biggest story, the biggest piece that we have had in 2025 so far, and we've worked with all the big retailers. We did a huge big campaign with Sky, but the one that's achieved most views this year is a single one-off story that we worked on Pet Stop with, and we took photos of the people who work in the new Pet Stop store in Rathmines with their own pets. And cute dogs, cute dogs, right?
Yeah.
We were like, oh, that's a lovely one-off.
already got me hooked.
Yeah, we were like, that's a lovely one-off story, and more people have viewed that than any other story this year. It's just gone through the roof. But it's because it's a beautiful piece of authentic storytelling, and there are pictures of beautiful dogs. And we were like, we've been blown away. We've done massive campaigns, but this single small retailer story is the one that's...
And that's a small retailer. They
Yeah,
came to you through
yeah,
the content
yeah.
studio. And with that, there is editorial as well, I would imagine. So there's a mix, isn't it? It's a balancing.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's a balance. Yeah, it's absolutely balancing. But something like the Pet Stop piece is written by an Irish Times journalist, then, and
Yeah.
we work with the brand. So it is, a proper piece
Yeah.
of journalism that you've helped to create. Yeah.
And just, you mentioned 10,000. So the Pet Stop, can you do you know roughly?
I can't remember. We were looking the other day at what Pet Stop is at. I think it might be. No, I can't remember exact numbers, but through the
It's
roof.
high, through
Like,
the
yeah,
roof.
yeah. And that is just organic. We haven't put any money behind that or anything. People are just searching for cute dogs, I think, and that's
Right,
what
so we'll be all
yeah.
going on.
Yeah, but it's. I think we did that very early in the year. It might be from March, and we look every week, and every week there's more and more people
wow,
looking
okay.
at that story. So
Great for
yeah, it
Pet
just
Stop,
keeps,
yeah.
it keeps going.
Great.
Ooh, Pet Stop.
Yeah.
So many shout outs. I didn't mean to do that.
No, it's great to hear the examples, and I think
Yeah.
it's important that we hear what works.
Yeah, I think when it comes to paid media, that people think that it's huge, big campaigns and that
Yeah.
it's a massive undertaking. But something like that is just
Yeah.
when we've also done some lovely photo essays for Donnybrook Fair that worked in the same way and have done incredibly well as also. So it's not the huge big things that you think it's going to be. It's single one-off stories that we work very closely with the brands on to make sure that it is authentic and it's something that readers want to read.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
It's what the reader wants. And actually, that moves nicely over to you, Ali, because I know, Ali, you have several outlets that you work with, whether it's radio, print, online. So this is a really good one for everyone out here, finalists and winners. What do you look for? How do you receive your information? What are the stories? Talk to me a bit about that.
Like...
Or what's important? Sorry, what you receive.
Like, I think what's important for producers, like, say, for example, after this week, if they've won a prize or whatever, is to reach out to the journalist, but also to research who you're reaching out to and learn what they're doing. So, like, you'll often get an email and they'll be like, maybe mention somewhere I wrote for 5 or 6 years ago that I don't do anymore. Like, so look up, like, and most of us, like, share our stuff on Instagram or whatever social media. So it's easy to research that and see where someone is writing. But also you kind of build up a relationship. Like, even like my sister is a yoga teacher and I tried to help her send out press releases. And the first time she did it, she was like, I can't believe no one replied to me. And I was like, well, nobody will. Because you have to build up a relationship. Because we get probably a few hundred press releases a week into our inboxes. So you don't reply to everybody. But like, if someone has emailed me a few times, I'll go, oh yeah, they're keep on sending me right information. And it's sort of sending the right information. I think one of the biggest things is imagery. Like, I don't think people put enough emphasis on just getting nice photos done. And you don't have to spend a lot of money. You can just get photos done a couple of times a year. Like, if I'm going to interview somebody, you need to have a nice photo to go with it. And that's like a big thing. It's the first thing, like I write for Jen as well. And like, the first thing my editors in the Irish Times will ask me for is a photograph.
Yeah.
And like,
I'm an absolute pain in the... Yeah, I'd be like, any photos? Any photos? Any photos?
Yeah. And I think to be ready and like, I suppose, don't have an expectation of what you think is going to happen, but just start building relationships, I think. And I think coming to something like this is really important, and coming to like just introducing yourself to journalists and saying hello to people. Like, I met so many producers yesterday, and you remember someone then, it's really nice, because then you mightn't have a place for the story straight away, but it might be 6 months down the line, you're like, okay, I'm writing about butter, I'm going to add that in, or...
So, and I was going to ask you this, you're talking about writing about butter, so you talk about roundup of events and festivals and what you're working on. You're also, you talk about the new restaurants that are opening. What is the areas that you particularly like? Because I'm going to move to Janine next, so it's a different area, but for you in particular.
Well, I suppose every week, as you mentioned, Substack, so I sent out a newsletter every week, because what I was finding was I was having all these press releases coming in COVID actually, and I'd nowhere to put anything, because there's less places to write about food. It's very difficult as a freelance journalist to find places to pitch, because there's just less pages in magazines now. So I started Substack, so I had a place to put all those little bits of news. So if you're just like, I have a new, like roll-it pastry, I don't know, she was here yesterday, she had new branding and did a launch and I couldn't go. But I'd still mention in the newsletter, have you seen her new branding, and it's available in shops or whatever. And I could put those mentions in the Substack, and that goes out to, like, I only have like 2,000 subscribers, but
brilliant.
A huge engagement rate. Like, I think 70% people open it within the first few hours that I send it. And it's a very engaged audience. And I know that then, I know other journalists and PRs read that, and then you're kind of, like, so if I'm putting in there, you're kind of getting it in lots of places. And it's harder when a producer approaches you to find a story. Like, it's harder to do a profile piece unless you're specifically asked to do that by an editor these days. Like, it's just, so, but how I find a lot of, like, the festival stages as well, that's a big one for me. So I do probably 4 or 5 stages like this over the year where I'll talk about food and drink, and I'll save up the stories for that. So then I'd be like, okay, I'm going to talk about 4 different farmers or that, and that's a really good way for people to get the word out as well.
Yeah, and if you're communicating with Ali and she has you top of mind, and maybe it's someone to come to one of those events, so which kind of food people have you had at your stages at the festival?
Oh my God,
so many.
Everyone.
So it's really important, to
like you've been there, like you've come to all of them. So I do, like, and they're music festivals. So like Beyond the Pale and All Together now were the big ones I did last year. I'll be at Samhain, and I might have like 10 talks every day, and I try and get as many people as I can in. But I could kind of make anything work in that environment, but what really helps is when someone approaches you with an idea. Because if someone says to me, actually, like Revesky, they were here, they came and said, oh look, we have these hot honey crisps, can we come and talk about this, and we bring loads of crisps. Brilliant. I'm 100% in, because if you're going to bring samples, like, yes. Like, if you can make it easy for me, I'm going to say yes, absolutely, if I have the space, as long as it's interesting and relevant. And kind of, I think you have to do your research as well, because you have to understand that audience is not a very serious audience. So you can't be digging deep into stories. It's just like a bit of crack. Talk about your product. Exactly. Get the name out.
Which brings more in-depth stories. I'm going to talk to you, Janine, about that as well. More investigative type with the Irish Farmers Journal, and you concentrate, your focus is more food and agricultural journalism. You yourself are on a farm, you know the ins and outs, and you would write more about policy and agriculture. So for anyone here that wants to know more about how you like to receive information, what you're looking for, tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I guess I'm very lucky to write for the journal as a food journalist, because we do have a little bit more leeway with stories a lot of the time. I get a lot of freedom with what I'm able to write, the topics I'm able to explore, as long as at the end of the day what I'm doing is I have a remit and a commitment to rural Ireland and to rural food producers, chefs, restaurants, farmers. I always have to bring it back to the realities and the challenges and the opportunities that we're facing every day in rural Ireland. And I think there are loads of food people focusing on the city centres, the urban areas, and that's perfect. I really think that we have so much to offer in rural Ireland, and we have, like I said, so many opportunities. So for me, it's finding stories about the challenges we might face, the policy issues, the things that we run into every day as food producers and farmers, and finding then producers who can fit into that story. So it's always good, I think, if you're a food producer, to think about what niches you fall into other than just your food product. So if you are a small producer and you're looking to scale, but you're having a hard time, a lot of small producers get to a point where they kind of stagnate, or they're able to scale, or they stop entirely. So what stage are you at there? Like, if you have these things, these stories that you can add to your own personal brand story, which I think is, again, very important to be able to tell your story and bring that to the right journalist, to the right, do your research on the journalist. If you're rurally based, I want to know about you. and I want to be able to help you tell your story. We also have a bit more of a budget, so we can often do photo shoots and different things. So if you don't have images, but if you have a really compelling story, that's something that we're able to do at the Farmers Journal and Irish Country Living. So there are so many ways that you can pitch your story to food journalists in general. But if there's something very specific around a problem that you're having, like a lot of what we do and a lot of the writing that we do is sharing these challenges that not everybody is going to know about. There are very unique niche challenges that food producers face, especially in rural Ireland. I don't think Siobhan is here, but from St. Tola, her husband does rope mussel farming, and so a few months ago I was writing specifically about rope mussel farming and the challenges that they're facing in this area here in Kerry in the southwest, with numbers going down, with there's the time of year, the temperature of the water. There are these things, but they're not getting any government support. If a dairy farmer like me was having trouble with silage, if we had no food to feed our cows, the government would be in like that. Like we would make a stink about it, and we would get that help right away. But then there's all these people in aquaculture, and they're not able to get the same support, even though they're trying, they're shouting from the rooftops and nobody seems to be listening. So it's those little stories that we're able to help bring to the highlight, I think that's really where my storytelling comes from.
And so, are you looking for that from the producer coming to you, or the?
Well, I think you build up trust with people as well, and I think if you're a trusted journalist, if people do trust your storytelling ability, then they will come to you automatically if they're having a specific challenge or if they're having a problem and they want that to be shared.
Yeah.
But also, people are willing, they're not always willing to talk about the opportunities and the wins as well. So that's why BLAS is really important, I think, because I'm able to find and talk to people who've had a really good weekend and to be able to share, really share the highs of what they're able to experience. Because most of the time in rural Ireland, especially if you're agri-food, if you're a farmer with a small food product, it's hard to see the bright side sometimes because it is so challenging right now. It's such a challenging environment. So to be able to come here and see people at their peak and at their happiest probably and get those really good stories too is equally important, because it can't be all doom and gloom all the time. Yeah. But it is important to share the challenges and to be trusted enough to be able to share those stories.
Yeah, it's interesting to hear from your perspective, from everyone's perspective. It brings me on to you, Mark, from a retailer, from the leading trade publication for supermarkets, convenience stores and buyers. So retailers are a key audience for many finalists here and winners. From your experience, what type of food stories kind of grab the attention of retail buyers? And can you give us a little bit about how ShelfLife, how it works, how...
Yeah, so obviously we're very different. We're a B2B publication. So unlike the consumer kind of story, it's very much a business-to-business relationship with retailers and brands. So what we do is we kind of bridge that gap. So you've got retailers here, brands here, and we kind of sit in the middle, so we get to tell your story to your trade buyers, your trade customers and stuff. So from our point of view, in terms of some of the kind of key stories, is retailers are looking for practical information. So it's not really about just the fluff. They want to know what sells, what consumers want. They're a bit more kind of data-driven in terms of what they need to know. So, advice to brands and to producers is to find, for your story, is to, tailor it to who you're trying to talk to. So you're talking to the retailers and the buyers. So the kind of message is going to be slightly different than maybe, say, in the Times or the Farmers Journal. So we would want a bit more in terms of, what they're doing as a brand, in terms of in-store activity, any data that they've compiled over the year in terms of what are the key trends, what are consumers looking for, how will they bridge that gap for retailers, how are they basically, selling in store and stuff like that.
Yeah,
so
what
that's
investment
kind of
are they doing so that the buyers and the retailers know that they are investing in to promote the brand?
So a lot of their messages is so from a trade point of view, you're nearly telling, the buyers and the retailers, in 2 months' time we're launching this product.
Yeah.
So we're always first to know what's coming out to the marketplace. And some of the messages they would tell us or want to communicate is we're spending X amount in consumer marketing across TV, outdoor, digital, whatever it is, because retailers want to know is that you're pushing the brand and you're pushing consumers in store who are actually going to be looking for that particular brand. So
To have it on
that's
shelf.
to have it on shelf.
when they go ready to
Yeah.
launch.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's interesting to see from all perspectives here, the consumer and obviously the trade. So another thing then that struck me when you're speaking there for all of you is timing. It's a pure person, we have our schedule. But for you, how critical and how key is timing for you? Go with Jen first. Sorry.
I mean, timing depends. Like, you could be planning something for a long time and need things quite far out and you've lots of time to write in a story, but equally you might be doing something with a very fast turnaround. You've got a page that needs to be filled and you just need something now, and you remember that you heard a great story, or you met a great person, or there's a great brand, and you reach out really quickly to try and speak to them. So I think people sometimes are really afraid if an editor or a journalist rings and says, do you want to speak to me for whatever magazine or the Times or the Journal? And they're like, I don't know what to say. I need time, or do you have questions in advance? And it's very rare that you would get questions in advance or that there would be any time. And I think if it's a nice, lifestyle piece of journalism, you have to understand that most, journalists are on your side and just want, to tell a nice story and to get it out there, and that you shouldn't be afraid of what you're going to say. Trust your own voice and trust the power of what you know about your brand to be able to give a quote quickly. If you're asking for a lot of turnaround time, journalists will very often move on and go to the next person who'll answer the question really quickly, and then they'll be featured. So I think have the confidence in what you're able to say about your brand if somebody's looking for a quote fast. But timings all change, but sometimes it's down to somebody being able to give you a quote and have a picture. And it's as simple as that.
But, how do you feel if a producer or someone in the audience does get in touch, you get in touch with them, but they can ask you, but what's this for? Who's involved? Is there other people involved?
100%. You
Ask
can
your questions.
you can always ask what it's for, what the story is, who else is being quoted. You can ask all those kind of things, but I think it's being able to answer.
Available.
Being available and open, and I think that would be fair.
That's such a good point. Just trusting your voice and trusting that you know what you're talking about. Like imposter syndrome is rife among food producers. And a lot of people do feel like this is my brand and my baby, and I'm trusting this person to tell a story that I'm not sure they're going to be able to tell it correctly. But this is what we do every single day. And we want to help. We're not doing it to. We're not doing it to slander anybody.
No, I think in food and lifestyle journalism in general, everybody just wants to tell a lovely story.
We're only writing nice things most of the time.
Love your job.
I think a big thing is what you're touching on there is be ready, be contactable.
Be ready.
And I know sometimes people will say, oh, this person always gets coverage or this person is always in the press, because they make it easy. And because they're contactable and they reply to you. And I know people are busy, actually doing the work of producing and don't necessarily have much desk time, but you should make time to answer your emails once a week, to reply to people or check once a day. That's really important.
I think if you've sent a press release, and so if a journalist or an editor is searching their inbox for something and you've sent a press release and you're like, amazing, a press release and a picture, I'm going to ring them now, and then you can't get hold of them, you probably won't ring again for a very long time.
And it's funny that you say that, because you mentioned, Ali, that sometimes we're not going to reply to every press release. We get so many press releases, but I don't know, definitely in my case, I see every single press release that comes in.
It's there.
And I might not be writing about that topic right now, but in 3 months' time or in 6 months' time, I might be writing about that topic. I'm going to want to find you then, and maybe I'll reply then. So don't feel disheartened.
We are searching that inbox all the time.
Making a mental note there. You're definitely on my radar. So
there's a lot of time that you're going, somebody sent me something about that.
For Christmas.
So we'd be very different.
Oh, Christmas. People have already, but today, over the last weekend, people are saying, when are your Christmas deadlines? Right now. Right now.
It's in July.
Timing.
It was 2 months ago. Definitely. Gift guide, Christmas content. Send in those ideas right now, and don't be afraid. Everyone
starts as soon as July.
So if I was a producer, and from the B2B point of view, is I would check out all the different trade publications that go to the marketplace, because every single one would do a weekly newsletter. So we do one that goes out to 5,000 subscribers every single Monday at 2:00. So if I was a producer, before 9:00 that morning, I would make sure my press release goes to the editor. You have to get it in early. You need a very good caption. You need a very concise header, but make sure the images, you need good quality images, because if you are making the editor or the journalist do extra work and extra steps, then they're just going to move on. Because they get, like our editor would probably get, 20, 30 emails, in that morning. Yeah, literally, it could be. And to get onto that newsletter, which you really want to do, because it's going out to 5,000 key decision makers, is to get early, before 9 o'clock, before all the noise. Make sure you have it all written out correctly. Images are good, captions are there, no work for the journalist, and that's how you're going to get the coverage.
Yeah, so I think that's a really good roundup. The timing is, and having a really good headline, that's grabs the attention. It's a launch of something new.
Don't bury the lead in anything. Just have it at the top. Really, just this is what you want to know, because you're, you know yourself. A press, however long a press release is, we might read.
The first two paragraphs are the most important.
And then we're not reading any further down. And you could have the best, like a gorgeous story way down at the bottom, and we won't get down that far.
I feel like a press release always needs to be much simpler than you think it needs to be. You don't need to write the story. You just need to give us the facts, and because when you're reading something really, and someone might be a wonderful writer, but if you're really wordy and it takes you a paragraph to get to, you need one liner, you need to be able to pick it out like that, and then it's easy to stick in a newsletter and just go, this is happening, or this just came out, there you go.
So before we go to questions, I know we're going to go to some questions from the audience. How can people contact you? And please share whichever handles or email address. What is the best way for anyone here today to contact you?
If you're looking for Content Studio, you would email mediasolutions@irishtimes.com. If you're looking for me specifically, jennifer.stevens@irishtimes.com, or through LinkedIn or Instagram would be the best way for me.
Yeah, I'm open to Instagram as well. I get a lot of Instagram requests. I'm at Sugar Shack.
Sugar Shack.
I always have to explain that one because I'm Canadian. We make maple syrup in a place called the Sugar Shack. So I'm also a chef by trade. When I first came over to Ireland, I had a small food business. I made donuts, and I call myself the Sugar Shack. So that name has just stuck ever since. So I am Sugar Shack on most of my social media, and then you can also email food@farmersjournal.ie if you have any food requests at all. And
that's SUIC or a
SIUCRA.
SUI. Oh yeah, SIU. Sorry.
Right.
And Mark, sorry.
I hope.
Mark.morgan@mediateam.ie. We're obviously on ShelfLife.ie. We've the weekly newsletter, Week in Grocery. Just email me. LinkedIn as well. I'm on LinkedIn. So
perfect, Mark. Yeah.
Love to hear your stories.
Instagram, Ali Dunworth, or email alidunworth@gmail.com. And one thing, something that on Instagram, it has my email, so you can email, and it really annoys me when people send you big wordy DMs. When my email is really easy, it's there. So if email is better, a DM, don't expect for someone to reply to a DM. I don't think. Send an email.
So everyone has a different way of being approached. So you like?
I don't mind. I think when people are coming to you with a problem in particular, if they're struggling and having a challenge, I often get a DM on Instagram being like, did you know that this is happening? Or did you know that the government's not doing this? Or did you? And then I can kind of go further on that and see.
Conversation. But
it's a conversation.
I mean a press release. Or
oh God, nobody wants a press release.
Because like that, like that you'll remember, and then you'd be like, I don't know how to find that.
I can't find
it.
And if somebody does DM, you generally just bounce back your email and say, email.
But I think it's easy to find people's emails these days. So anybody you want, any other journalist you want to contact.
And you made I'll finish up with this before we go to questions. You made a really good pointer here. Know everyone who you're contacting and what they write about and who they are exactly.
Research.
Your research.
And Kate Ryan said it the other day that if you have a favorite food writer or a favorite journalist that you read regularly, maybe that's a good place to start. Reach out to that. Obviously you know what they're about, what they're doing. We're all doing different things. But we're all here trying to do the same thing, which is lift up the industry and help people tell their story.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Any questions for this panel? Fabulous ladies and men, sorry. There's women.
Hi guys, Gemma Smith. I'm an owner of a PR agency. We work with a lot of food companies. One of the struggles that we have often is that there's so many fantastic companies out there and they think they have news. They have a new brand, or they are 20 years in business, or they've won an award. And I know awards are amazing in some regards, but it's obviously really competitive because, like, the last few days, there's been a lot of awards. So I suppose just what advice, because I think this is always the struggle. We often feel bad saying to somebody that's amazing, but we need something more. Like, is there something, what is the more that you guys would need to kind of cover that?
Money. A budget, that's kind of... Yeah.
I think that's a really good point, because like I've been on both sides of the paid media and the earned media, and if it is a 20-year anniversary or something like that you really want to tell people about, sometimes it's worth putting some money behind that and doing something like a content studio piece and telling the exact story that you want told. You approaching a journalist, you're not always going to get the exact story that you want, and sometimes it's about putting the press releases into somebody's inbox so that they come back to you for something in the future. But if you have an exact thing, Mark is right, sometimes it's a bit of budget, and that's, that's all that you can do for that particular story, because it's very important to you, but it may not be newsworthy, and an editor may not pick it up.
At the same time, a lot of people think maybe they don't have a compelling story and they actually just aren't being vulnerable enough. I think I deal with a lot of farmers, and so do you, Gemma, I'm sure. Farmers are notorious for thinking that they have nothing to tell or no story to tell, and you walk up to them and
they end up having the most incredible
historic farmhouse from the 1600s and all of this. My dad won this award back in the 1920s. It was a big deal then. Or like my mom was an Olympic swimmer. Or like they always have something if you dig a little deeper. And sometimes I think if you're a PR and you're representing a client, it's about making them comfortable with sharing those kinds of stories. Because like you said earlier, a lot of people are very protective of their brand, and they think if they get too personal, then maybe their brand will be affected negatively, which I think is crazy.
That's true. Like they might think, I just want to tell that story, this particular story. But if you tell Janine or somebody this incredible family history, you're still promoting your brand, and and it's actually a story that people will remember long after you won an award or it was your 20-year anniversary. Be like, oh my God, they're the people who've been making that thing, and their grandfather and great-grandfather. It's an incredible story that will stay with people longer.
I remember writing about Irish gourmet butter years ago. They won, I think it was silver last night at the Bloss. They do the pastry butter. And I remember walking in and talking to them. They might not even remember me because it was years ago that I went in there. But they, the first thing out of their mouth was, "Oh, my mom was her mother was like a national butter churning champion in the early 1900s." It's one of the first things. And otherwise, you're walking into this industrial estate, and you might think, "Oh, this is a very industrial business." There doesn't seem to be. No, there's so much life in that story.
There's always a story somewhere.
Yeah. Great question. Any more questions?
I might ask a quick question if nobody else has one, and it's to talk about product drops, especially in the space we're in at the moment with all these brilliant awards, brilliant products that have got awards, and some producers might think, oh, I want to do some sort of a product drop, and there's more to that than just putting it into an envelope and posting it to the Irish Times offices. So you might talk the audience through what's involved with the product drop.
So thanks, Sharon. So for you receiving products, it's a tricky one. Yeah.
I love it.
You don't mind. You love it, yeah.
Well,
Send on, no problem. That's how you get on the newsletter and the magazine.
You'll take it all.
Send me free stuff.
Today's world. Sorry, this is a really good question, Sharon. It's a really good question because, and Gemma will feel this as well. We're all at home now, in days gone by, and you would send in press drops. I've done many. But today's different. So how do our audience here today get to you with a new product? And what
the most important thing is asking first.
Yeah,
because
100%.
And I think that, I know, Gemma, you said stuff. You'd always email and you have a relationship with the journalists, and Gemma would send it out and ask you if you want it. And I think most people now are really mindful of waste.
Yeah.
Don't send loads of we don't want packaging, we don't want to get rid, you don't want plastic and wasteful stuff. And I think it's really expensive for people to send out product drops, so like make sure you're sending them to people that want them.
And that can cover it as well, and
like
that they're the right people that you're sending them to. I think.
Yeah, and again, it's a bit like that thing where you might not have a place for it, but you might get it and really like it. And like I judge on different awards during the year, and like I'm part of the Food Writers Guild, and we nominate products within our awards every year. And most of the time it's stuff you find, but often it might be something that someone sends to you. So kind of be aware that you might send someone something that's really precious to you. It might not land a story, but Janine might be like, I know that, and I'm going to nominate it for an award, or I'm going to tell people about it, just pop it on your Instagram. I think you kind of have to think of the bigger picture, but it's a big thing for people to do. So I think do it small, and
especially if
target
you're a small
effectively.
producer and this is your precious product that you're parting with.
But sometimes it's really nice when someone doesn't even do a product drop, but maybe I know them through Instagram or they read my newsletter or whatever, and they will just reach out to me. They don't send it to loads of people, but they might just say, can I send you this because I think you'd really like it? And that's really nice.
Yeah.
And then you do feel more like, okay, they know that I would like this, and it's in your mind, and you'll try and do something for them.
And I have to say, I love your Substack. Ali's newsletter is probably the place you want to send your product to. I read it. I get up to date on Ali's Substack.
Send Mark's
Mark, obviously.
Mark wants
the product, send that to ShelfLife.
But it's really,
+a
it is really nice to, like, it's nice.
My husband loves it when I get a press drop. He absolutely loves it, He's like, this is why you do what you do. I get it.
So just to come back to that, Sharon, it's an etiquette really that, contacting Jennifer.
Yeah, but I don't even think it's etiquette. I think it must, I don't know, I think it must be so expensive. There's so many people that you're going to send it to, like between media and influencers and all sorts of content creators and all sorts of people. It must cost a fortune.
Yeah.
So I think target it and ask in advance, because I will often say, no, I'm not, I wouldn't be the right person. If you send that to me, cover that and don't.
I got a pile of makeup earlier on in the year, and I was like, wow, well, thank you, but I'm not writing about it.
I know.
But I thank you.
But also don't forget to send your information, because people might just send stuff, and you put a little press release or a note in, so that if you are popping it on Instagram, you can, like it was something for 20 years, you have a little, so you have a reason.
Yes.
And people know why you sent it.
Yeah, like your handle, your details, like the contact info, the call to action, like this.
Yeah.
That can happen a lot with us. We would just get
It's just random.
a box with products, like no press release, nothing at all, and you're like, who do you come from? Yeah, well, yes. Yeah. I look at it first and see, do I want it? And then if not, it's like, does anybody want this in the office? But that happens an awful lot.
Yeah.
It's just
And sometimes
the
you
basic
get
stuff. Yeah.
sometimes you get too much. So sometimes you get a box and it has 27 bags of crisps.
That's
in it.
fine.
That's not too much.
Fine.
No, it
No
is.
such thing as too many crisps.
Yeah.
I think
That's not enough.
Don't listen to her.
I'll call you guys next time. I'll share them around.
Bigger box of crisps.
The better.
When it comes to crisps,
There's no
thing is
limit.
too
Yeah.
Spot the non-Irish person.
Outrageous.
I hope that answered your question.
More crisps.
And it's crisps.
Not me. Don't send me any crisps.
I think, is there anybody else with a question? I think that has just rounded up.
Sorry, that fell apart.
Well, I hope that we. Yes, Sharon.
One more thing, Vivian, Ali mentioned the Irish Food Writers Guild, and I think it's important to highlight that Ali's a member, Janine is a member, Caroline here is a member, there could be other members in the room, the McKennas are members of it, and that website for the Guild has
all of our
Has
contact
all our
info.
contact details.
Yes.
has all the
And you can also email directly to the guild.
Yep.
And like Kasia, who kind of looks after everything, she will send a press release around to all of us. It'll come directly to us.
Yeah.
Really easy to get our contact details there.
And she actually has a list of email addresses that some of the members have given permission for her to send out. So sometimes if you send her the press release, she'll reply with a list of all those email addresses. So you have them forevermore, really.
Yeah.
And sometimes if I get a press release about a product or an event or something that it's not really under my remit, I might send it to Katia and have her send it to the Guild.
Yeah.
Because it's a lovely story, but I'm not going to be covering it. But there's probably loads of other people in the Guild who can cover that story.
And one thing I will say, just looking at Sharon there, is don't sleep on podcasts, because there's like Sharon does a really good food business podcast, and you cover loads of producers. But Dee Laffin and Oisin have one where they cover producers, and there's Marcus O'Leary has one now, and they're engaged listeners and small audiences, but you get a lot of reach. And the thing is, once you are on a podcast, then you'll show up in Google searches, and we're looking for something. I'm like, beef farmer, and then they're on there. Like it's
exactly.
It's another avenue.
There's so many outlets here to reach the media that you're trying to communicate and tell your story to. So, thank you so much, Ali, Mark, Janine, Jen. It's been an absolute pleasure. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I have. Thank you so much.
Thanks for you.